Hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? I hope you guys have found my previous videos useful. My goal for creating content starting off is to create content that I feel is going to be useful to various audiences. Honestly, it's just stuff that pertains to my life, and I just like to share my viewpoint on it, perspectives or tips that I have regarding, whatever the topic of the video may be for that day. So my videos may seem like they're a little bit all over the place, but they're things that pertain to me, and I just like to share the information with you guys. If you guys have any particular topics that you may not see floating around YouTube a lot, feel free to comment them below, or message me and ask me, and if I have any experience on the topic at all, I'll be more than happy to make a video. Moving into today's video, I'll be sharing my experience with birth control over the past few years. So I've used 4 different birth controls over the past 8 years. First, I had used Depo, which is the shot that you get every 3 months, the injection of hormones. You get it every 3 months. And then I use Nexplanon, which is the little plastic piece that you place in your arm right here. I actually had it in this arm, I believe. But they place it inside of your arm with like an injection of looks like a syringe, but it actually pushes the Nexplanon into your arm. I use Mirena, which is an IUD, which is an intrauterine device, and they literally place this Y-shaped looking plastic piece into your uterus. And then I've also used birth control pills, and I use each of these in the order I just described them to you in. The effects of each, I would probably say the biggest effect that I saw for each is definitely weight gain. I did a lot of research on birth control and weight gain after I started I would say my second attempt at birth control. The first attempt was when I was in high school, and my boyfriend's mom at the time decided it was a good idea for me to get on birth control, so she actually initiated it for me. So I started with the Depo, and I was a student athlete in high school, and I was very small, so I weighed about 130 pounds, 135 pounds, 145 at my heaviest. But I will say that when I gained the 145 pounds, when I got to 145 at my heaviest in high school, that was around the time that I started Depo. And I think I went through 2 rounds of the Depo, and it wasn't like an immediate change where I saw myself pack on 5 or 10 pounds in like a month or 2. It was honestly the course of a school year. And I remember that because my track coach at the time, we were doing some type of workouts, and he was like, "Oh, Shanika, you need to start doing 2-a-days now. I noticed that you've gained some weight." And I'm like, hold up, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? But I did gain weight. Honestly, that wasn't a substantial amount of weight for my body size at the time, because I was very small. So 10 pounds was noticeable when I gained it, but it wasn't like I was overweight or anything. He just happened to notice it because he was my track coach, and he had been coaching me for years. So I did notice that right off the back. The 2 rounds that I went through of Depo when I was in high school, I ended up stopping those when I went to college. And when I got to college, like I would say sophomore year, I decided to, maybe I should start birth control back again. So I decided to go to my university's clinic and start the Depo again. And when I went, I had gained probably 10 pounds more. So I was probably like 155, 160, somewhere right in there. 10, 15 pounds more. And when I went, the doctor was like, "Have you done birth control in the past?" And I was like, "Yes." And then she was like, "Okay, I just noticed you're a little," she told me that I was obese pretty much for my height, being 160 and 5'7", that was obese compared to the chart she was looking at the time. So she asked me what birth control I did, and I told her it was Depo. And when I told her that, she explained to me how Depo causes gradual weight gain over the years. So even though I went through only 2 rounds of Depo in high school, like my senior year in high school, the effects of the hormones that are put in your body with the Depo cause a gradual weight gain over a course of time. So she was like, oh, you should try to get onto a workout plan and try to shed some of the pounds to get you back down to your suggested weight for your height. And I'm like, I already work out pretty hard. I run 2-3 miles almost every day. I do strenuous workouts. Like, working out is my life. I had just transitioned from, granted, I went from high school to college and I didn't play college sports, but I was still really big into being in the gym all the time. My freshman and my sophomore year. And I was really active with just doing like intramural sports and things of that nature. So I wasn't, you know, by a long shot not working out at all, but I just could not get the weight off. And she explained to me it was because of the Depo. So and with that appointment, she actually told me that I couldn't do Depo anymore because they only suggest that you do Depo for a certain amount of years. And then after that certain amount of years is up, you're not supposed to do it anymore because it can interfere with fertility in the future. So because I had did it my sophomore and junior year in college, she recommended that I not start it again for the point of time that I was trying to do it my sophomore year in college. She said that I shouldn't do it because it would interfere with fertility in the future. So I was like, okay, you know, listening to my doctor. So I ended up not getting Depo that last time, but I'm kind of glad I didn't because I never wanted to gain any more weight than I already had, especially when the Depo is, you know, when it was a gradual change. And I know for sure that I gained 10 pounds when I started Depo over the course of a school year because there was no way I would have gained 10 pounds with the type of workouts that I was doing. There's literally no way that would have happened. And I didn't do any type of birth control up until about, I would say 2 to 3 years ago, 3 actually. I did decided to start birth control with my boyfriend. We had a discussion and decided, you know, we don't need any type of life interruptions per se. You know, just because we were at a point where we had a goal in mind of where we're trying to get and we're like, we just don't need any hiccups. So I decided to start birth control. So the one that I decided to start was the Nexplanon, and that's the one that they put in your arm. I like the idea of that because it was something I didn't have to necessarily, I didn't have to take anything every day. I didn't have to remember to take something at a particular time every day. I'm very forgetful. So me remembering to take one pill at the same time every day I wasn't even going to kid myself with it. So I was like, you know, I'm just going to go big or go home. So I went big and I got the Nexplanon. After I had Nexplanon, I think I had Nexplanon in for about 3 to 4 months, maybe. And I noticed weight gain almost immediately with Nexplanon. And my boyfriend did as well. And I was like, you know, maybe I should take Nexplanon out because I really don't need to gain any more weight. And nothing else changed in my life, eating habits or anything, except for me getting Nexplanon. And at this point, I was like 175. And I was like, just don't need this in my life. So when it got Nexplanon removed, and after 3 or 4 months of having it, after I got the Nexplanon removed, my gynecologist gave me birth control pills because I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. I told her I wasn't trying to have kids at the time. So she definitely, you know, suggested some type of birth control, but I wasn't sure what route I wanted to go. So she gave me birth control pills. I took birth control pills for 1 month, literally. That was like the first packet that I got. So I took my whole, 28-day cycle thing, and then the 2 placebo pills they give you, or 1 placebo, I don't know. I took those, and after I took those, I decided to get I was like, I can't do this. And that was only supposed to be a temporary thing anyway. So I already knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that long term because that would not have worked out for me. So I decided to do the Mirena. So with the Mirena, I went to the doctor and they inserted the Mirena into my uterus. With that, the weight gain for between the Nexplanon and the Mirena, I got from about 175 up to 200. And 200 is what I weighed at the beginning of this year. So up to 200 pounds. And I say most of that is related to birth control because the type of job that I had, I was working 11, like when I first started at my company, I was working easily 11 to 13 hour days, almost 7 days a week. I'm on my feet the entire time. It's not a job where I sit down. I'm like walking around the entire time. And my eating habits really hadn't changed. Like, I honestly just eat the same stuff that I had been eating for years. I hadn't eaten any more. If anything, I was eating less because I was at work so much. So I would say between those 8-year span from like sophomore year and junior year in high school to graduating college and I gained about, went from 135 to 200. And most of that was, I believe, from the birth control, because some of it was left over from the depot. And then I know I dropped some weight in between the time when I wasn't on birth control, but I wasn't weighing myself at the time, and I don't really go to the doctor. So I don't really know what my weight was constantly every year, but I'm pretty sure I dropped weight after the doctor told me no, not to do depot when I went to my university's clinic. I dropped weight after that. I know I had to because I went through the insanity program, which is ridiculous. And so I dropped weight during that semester, well, that year, I should say. But then I started gaining weight again once I decided to start on the Nexplanon. So between Nexplanon and Mirena, I went from about 175 to 200 pounds, so about 25 pounds in there. And so that's the one main thing that I noticed that all of the birth controls had in common. The Mirena I had in the longest. So I have the most experience with Mirena because I kept that in for, I think, a year, maybe a little bit over a year. So I had that in the longest. So the next thing that I noticed with the birth controls is that they kind of all affected my period. With the depot, my period was always very, when I played sports and stuff, in high school, my period was very, I would say, irregular. So I would get it some months for like 2 days, some months I wouldn't get it. And, you know, it would just be all over the place in high school. But when I noticed when I started the depot, there was some times where I would spot for like 4 weeks, and that's just crazy. So that caused me to spot 4 weeks like on and off here over the like 2 cycles that I went through it on. There were like random times where I spotted for like 4 weeks, 5 weeks straight. But my period was very irregular anyway when I was in high school, because I think it was just due to my low body fat in high school, and I just did such extraneous workouts with my like sports teams that it just kind of threw it off. When I got to college, my period it regulated, and it came every month, and it was pretty predictable. Whatever the app said that I was going to get my period, that's when I got my period. So the next time that I started experiencing the interruptions in my cycle was when I did when I did Mirena. So Nexplanon, I didn't really notice a difference. I still got my period every month, but I honestly didn't have it in long enough probably for it to start taking too much effect on me. So when I had the Mirena in, I got no period at all for I take that back. The Nexplanon, when I got the Nexplanon put on my arm, my period stopped. So between Nexplanon and Mirena, which is a 2-year span between the two, when I got one put in, got the Nexplanon put in, got that taken out after 3-4 months, and then got the Mirena put in, I didn't have a period for over a year, like almost 2 years. I didn't have a period. Because those, like, some people, when I did my research, some people spotted on these, some people you know, had worse periods on these, but I just didn't have a period at all, like 0. So with the Mirena, because that's the one I had the longest, I also noticed that I had a lot of emotional effects of Mirena. And the reason why I know it was for Mirena, because I recently had it moved last September and removed last September, and I can tell ever since I got it removed, it was a gradual thing, but I can very, very well tell that there's a very large change in my, I would say, attitude and my thoughts and stuff. So when I was on Mirena, I found myself to be very angry all the time. And it wasn't like as soon as I got the Mirena put in, I was angry, but after having it in for a while, I felt like things that I normally wouldn't get angry at, I would get so angry about. And I just didn't understand why I was so angry all the time. And I felt like it made my thoughts very irrational. I felt like I wasn't clear-headed for a while. And at one point in time, I was depressed. And I contribute all of that to Mirena. Granted, people go through things in life, but I contribute all of that to the Mirena because I know what type of emotional state I was in before I started Mirena and how I've been in my entire life with dealing with various things. And I've never been affected to that point. I'm the type of person where it takes a very long time to anger me, and it takes a building up on top of a lot of stuff. But I would get mad over like the smallest thing, and that just was not the normal me. And I think the reason why that happens is because when they put the Mirena in your uterus, it tricks your body into thinking you're pregnant so that you don't get pregnant. That's how it works. So granted, this a no hormone, the device itself doesn't release hormones into your body. If your body is tricked into thinking it's pregnant, your body is going to produce some small amount of hormone that's going to like throw off your feelings and stuff, because that's what hormones affect. They affect your feelings and then other things as well. Other effects from the Mirena. There were a lot of like odd end pains here and there. So one huge thing for me, well, I guess this wasn't necessarily a pain, it wasn't necessarily a pain, but acne. Acne was huge for me. Like, I broke out so bad, and it was like down here at the bottom of my face and everywhere. Like, wherever you could have acne, I had it, and it was bad. The spots were dark, and it just got worse. The whole time I had Mirena in, my breakouts progressively got worse for an entire year. So picture that, getting like 1 or 2 breakouts here or there, and then it just got progressively worse the entire time I had Mirena. I took Mirena out finally, and it started to clear up. And I have finally found a product that worked for me to get my Mirena, I call it Mirena acne, to get my Mirena acne all cleared up and everything. And I can do a video on that later to show you guys what worked for me. But the other issues that I ran into with Mirena, I had bouts of extreme nausea with Mirena. So I remember one day in particular, I was at work and I was talking to my boyfriend on the phone, and then all of a sudden I was in the back office, and I was just like, every time I took a breath, I felt like I was gonna just throw chunks all over the desk. It was terrible. Like, I was so nauseous. I was like, what is going on? I don't get nauseous. I don't have a weak stomach or anything. So it's very rare if I get nauseous. Like, if I get nauseous, I'm either pregnant or I'm dying. One of the two, because it doesn't really happen. But I got like an extreme bout of nausea that particular day. And to accommodate the nausea, I had very severe cramping in my uterus, like in the bottom part of my stomach. It hurt so bad, like I couldn't stand up straight. I was like, what is happening? And every time this happened to me, extreme nausea with the extreme cramps, I assumed that the Mirena had perforated my uterus wall, because I read so many horror stories about that happening to people before. But I didn't go to the doctor or anything, because I have to be on my deathbed before I get myself to go to a doctor, so I didn't go. But that cleared up, I would say, probably in about 30 minutes, but it was really bad. And throughout the whole time of me having Mirena anyway, I had a lot of cramping, and I don't cramp. I've never cramped during my periods, and I just never cramped during them. But I had a lot of cramping with the Mirena in, which was very unpleasant to deal with. Now, I definitely suggest that everyone go out and do your own research for what birth control option will work best for you. Granted, I don't do any birth control anymore, and I doubt that I ever will, honestly. And just because I don't like the effects of it. I know weight gain is an effect for sure for me, and I don't want to gain weight based on me using the birth control with the hormones and everything. And then I just honestly don't like the way the Mirena made me feel mentally. I feel like it threw me off so much. And now that I'm not on it anymore, I feel like I'm more clear-headed, more emotionally stable than like I was prior to starting it. So I doubt that I'll ever do any type of birth control again, or at least any type of, I would say, medicinal birth control, where they're like inserting something in you to throw off your cycles or anything like that. But I highly suggest everyone do your own research for sure on what's going to work best for you. You know, look up stories. Hopefully I've given a point of view from the different methods I'll tell you that I've used that will, you know, help you make the best decision of what's going to work best in your life. Well, this brings us to the end of our video today. If you have any questions or comments about anything, feel free to leave them below. If you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up. And if you like my content so far, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to see you guys commenting down there in the chat. I'm pretty good at responding. I respond pretty fast. So if you have any comments or anything, I'm usually back to you literally before day end, if not within the hour. So I really enjoyed making this video for you guys. Until next time, peeps.